Good lot to talk about today. It has been a huge news week. I appreciate you for joining me. I hope your coffee's as good as mine. Let's get into it. Good morning, folks. We have a lot to cover today, so please, if you would, as we go, get your notepad ready. Get everything laid out so we can do the roundtable at the end of the show today. I'm really looking forward to that one. I always enjoy our roundtables. You are the best audience there is anywhere. So just being able to sit down and discuss these issues with you is always fantastic. But with the news we have today, I am dying to hear what you folks have to say. You'll notice I'm wearing the old felt hat this morning. This, folks, I get a lot of criticism for the right wing on this because they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. This is a resistol, but more importantly than being a resistol, and right wingers always love to tell me, "Oh, he's got that hat's brand new. This, that, and that. He's not a cowboy. Take that hat off, boy." Folks, this hat is 30 years old. It looks great because I bought a decent hat. But what spurred me to buy this particular hat was I am a huge fan of Garth Brooks. I always have been. And Garth Brooks has made the news recently. I don't know if you've been following. You don't have to be a country and Western fan to know, but you notice it's the same hat. I just have a little bigger head. Old Garth Brooks is opening a bar in Nashville, and he did a press conference about it. And they asked him, "Are you going to sell Bud Light?" You know, the right-wing jackoffs that pass as reporters asked him, "Are you going to sell Bud Light?" And Garth Brooks told him the same thing he's always said. He said, "Hell yeah, I'm going to sell every brand of beer. Everybody's welcome in my bar. My bar is a safe place for you to come and enjoy yourself no matter who you are." And I just couldn't help but feel proud. These right-wing trash mouth jackoffs are so prevalent in our society. They are. It's easy to forget that most of us aren't like that. We just aren't. Garth Brooks is just decent people. He is. Yeah, he got divorced. So what? So did I. So have a lot of other people. And the right wing are trying to trash him because, yeah, he got divorced and got remarried. But the guy is a damn good guy in my book. He is. This isn't going to be cheap for him. There's going to be a lot of people that try to raise hell. They're trying to say they don't want to go to Disney. They don't want to go to Dollywood. They don't want to go, to all these. They think they're controlling everyone. Thanks, James. I really appreciate that, man. You have no idea how much that helps. I think Trump was going to sell a copy of these classified documents for favors, like Jerry Kay getting a $2 billion investment. Agreed? I don't know if he was going to sell them or give them away, but I've got more on that later in the show, James. I appreciate the support. But back to Garth Brooks. These right-wingers are trying to say, "Oh, we're going to boycott Garth Brooks." Go ahead. This man has sold more records than Elvis. To quote him, he has more money than he can spend than his grandchildren can spend in their lifetime. So yeah, go ahead and boycott. Uh, but anyways, let me put this back. I've got a hat rack right here. You know, the right wingers like to make fun of this hat too. They, oh, that's cheap old hat. No, folks, that is a Stetson. That is a Stetson. I buy good hats. I do. I buy good hats because they last. So good morning, my potheads. I just wanted to share that bit of good news for you before we got a little bit of bad news. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about Eileen Cannon. But before we get there, we've got some other news that has been out there, and it's not good news. It's just not good news. We have the West Virginia Police Department that has, well, it's been acting disgracefully. It's just been acting disgracefully. As many as 42 women and 10 minors have come forward that while in attendance at the West Virginia Junior Academy program, they were filmed. Someone put a secret camera in the women's locker room at the West Virginia Training Academy. They've been filming both women who were attending the academy to become officers, as well as children that were attending the junior academy. They were changing in the women's locker room, and they were being filmed at the same time. Why I really wanted to talk about this now is it's getting worse. It's getting worse. You know, it's really difficult to make allegations against the police. It just is. They're powerful. Many people are afraid that, you know, nothing's going to happen. They're going to get away with it. You're going to end up humiliated. There's going to be retaliation. It's a real fear, folks. I mean, it's just a real fear. And I'm telling you that as somebody who comes from a cop family. It's a real thing. It's a real fear to have. But since these allegations broke, uh, an attorney by the name of Teresa, and I know I'm going to murder this, Torresiva, has served the West Virginia state troopers with notification that she's going to file a lawsuit on behalf of these women. As more and more news comes out, more people have become more comfortable, and the number of women has continued to grow. We're up, like I said, up to 42 women today and 10 minors, but we're also getting new allegations. It's not just the filming, folks, and this is just disgusting, and I apologize for bringing this into your Sunday morning, but these are the things that we need to know and discuss. Um, it's now moved to allegations of sexual assault, rape, improper relationships. Uh, the instructors were engaging in improper relationships with minors. That's called rape. There's no such thing as consensual sex with a minor. Just one thing after another, folks, and it just keeps coming out. It looks like it was just a circus out there. Little town called Dunbar, West Virginia, is where the academy is located. But the media spokesman for the West Virginia police has given a statement which was disheartening, to say the least. They said the investigation is still underway, which actually they weren't doing anything about it before Teresa Torresova filed her lawsuit and embarrassed them on a national scale. This had been going on for a couple years. I mean, these are not hard, long investigations to conduct. And they had done nothing so far, but claiming that there's an investigation still underway and that now they've been notified that there will be civil litigation. They just can't comment. That's their reaction. No comment. Which is disheartening to say the least. It would be nice to see them step out and get ahead of this and do what needed to be done. But again, they haven't. And we'll keep track of what's going on because this isn't going anywhere. This is expanding. This is just it's just going to get worse. And frankly, I don't understand why the head of the West Virginia State Troopers hasn't resigned already. There was another little thing that you may have seen, a little bit of news. Trump got indicted again. Yeah, that's been all we've really talked about is that he got indicted, but really, there's just not a whole lot of information going around. There's information available, uh, but what actually has happened, there isn't a lot coming out of the corporate media, just really explaining what what are we looking at, what does this mean, and what now. So I downloaded a copy of the indictments. Got a copy here, threw it in a notebook. I advise you to do the same. There are PDF versions of this available all over the place. And it's 40 plus pages, but most of it isn't anything you're going to read. I mean, front page, I mean, half of it is nothing to read. It's like that throughout the entire document, but you don't really have to read the entire document. Here I am on page 2. I'm going to read you a little bit from this. Here we are on page 2. Article 3. Classified documents Trump stored in his boxes included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The authorized disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the United States military and human sources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collecting methods. That's just section 3 of the introduction. Section 6 goes on to say, on 2 occasions in 2021, Trump showed classified documents to others. In July 2021 at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. You remember Mar-a-Lago got searched, but Bedminster hadn't. That was done on an honor system by Trump's attorneys. During an audio recorded meeting with a writer and publisher and 2 members of his staff, none of whom possessed a security clearance, Trump showed and described a plan of attack, quote unquote, a plan of attack that Trump said was prepared for him by the Department of Defense and senior military officials. Trump told the individuals that the plan was, quote, highly confidential, unquote, and, quote, secret, unquote. Trump also said, as president, I could have declassified it, unquote, and, quote, now I can't, but this is still a secret, unquote. Yeah. They have this audio recording. Just keep that in mind. Section B in August of September 2021 at the Bedminster Club, Trump showed a representative of his political action committee who did not possess a security clearance. No crap. A map related to a military operation, that is, an ongoing military operation, and told the representative that he should not be showing it to the representative, duh, and that the representative should not get too close. It's it's all that blunt. It's all that simple. I mean that's just the first 2 pages. It's just the first 2 pages. And it gets better from there, folks. I highly recommend that you download a PDF version. Mrs. Texas Paul printed it out, put it in a folder. But you could just keep yours on your phone. What it resulted in is 7 charges. Willful retention of national defense information. That's the documents. There were 31 documents found after they swore they had nothing else. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. Trump and his aide Walt Nauta were hiding documents, and they got caught hiding documents. Withholding a document of record. Trump and Nauta were lying to their attorneys and hiding documents. That's where that charge falls in. Corruptly concealing a document of record. Again, lying to their attorneys. Concealing a document in a federal investigation, which means that even though they were under investigation, even though the FBI had been searching for documents, they continued to hide them. As well as lie to their lawyers, which resulted in a false affidavit being filed claiming that they had no more documents. There's a file for the scheme to conceal. Again, lying to the FBI. False statements, of course, because they lied to the FBI, false certifications, yada, yada, yada. You get the general idea. That's the Jack Smith indictments that we just got. But don't forget, folks, those aren't the only indictments. That's 37 counts. And again, not the only indictments. We also have indictments that came down from Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. Just a quick reminder of that, just a cliff notes of that. Hang with me. Trump could, potentially max sentence face 136 years for these indictments up in Manhattan. That won't happen, folks. I mean, he's going to face some time because they're felonies, but it's a few years max. Faces up to 150, or pardon me, I think it's $250,000 fine for each. But basically, that stems from the campaign where he paid people off. He paid off Dina Sajudin. He was the Trump doorman. The doorman knows all. The doorman knows who comes and goes. They paid him $30,000 just to get amnesia. The scheme with AMI in the Inquirer to buy Karen McDougal's story about their affair. They paid her $150,000 to not tell her story, which counts as where this becomes a crime is that $150,000 was a catch and kill. She knew it. They knew it. It wasn't going to be published. They bought it. That makes it a campaign contribution. Vicky, I really appreciate this. I do. Ali Velshi read it in entirety on MSNBC and Indictment podcast. I hope the quantity and the quality of information wake up the worshipers. I love Ali Velshi. I really do. I like, and I'm glad he read it. It's just, there's just not that much there, folks. I recommend that you yourselves, you can get a free PDF version, download it. It's worth it. Why didn't they search Bedminster docks on plane? That is an outstanding question. I do not know why they did not search Bedminster. I don't have a good answer for you there. Makes no sense to me. I would have thought after what happened at Mar-a-Lago, they would. The only explanation I can give you, and legal beagles I talked to, they didn't need it. They didn't need it. They had a list of documents. They knew what they wanted. They knew which documents were missing. From what, I can only assume that they got their documents back that they wanted after the raids. And it just wasn't worth going through the trouble of searching Bedminster. I think that's insane, given how loosely we know these documents were maintained. I think it's insane that they should have searched Bedminster also. I think it was just such a disaster when that they found at Mar-a-Lago, and then with the texts and whatnot, they just, it wasn't worth the trouble. Because you have to understand, I mean, this is a never-ending crime. And I just want to point out, folks, there are more indictments coming from Jack Smith. There will be superseding indictments in the documents case. There will also be indictments coming. There will also be indictments coming from the January 6th investigation. You have to understand, Jack Smith wasn't just hired to investigate the documents case. He was hired to look at the January 6th, just Trump's role in it, the whole broad spectrum investigation into that insurrection. And we have yet to see indictments out of that. That investigation is still going on. As we're talking right now, Jack Smith is still investigating that. I just got a text from one of my lawyer friends, great, law enforcement friends, who's watching the show live. She said search warrants require fresh information, advise, or knowledge the area should be violated. By a search by the government. Basically what you say in there is they needed fresh, relevant information in order to get the search warrant, which they may not have had. But anyways, talking about back to Manhattan, we got great comment. I'm glad you made it. But back to Manhattan and Alvin Bragg. Then, of course, you have the Stormy Daniels payoff. The reason I wanted to go back over that is because I want you to understand none of these three things would have come to trial. The payoff to Sajudin, Karen McDougal, or Stormy Daniels. They are felonies because they falsified records to cover this up. If they had just put Stormy Daniels on their disclosures, it wouldn't have hurt them at all. I mean, look at the Access Hollywood tapes. It didn't make a blip. It was the cover-up that destroyed them. It's the cover-up that brought us to these felony indictments. And again, it's the same with the Jack Smith case. The indictments just from Jack Smith. Folks, had Trump complied, and I can't stress this enough, had Trump just complied, we wouldn't be here. There would be no documents indictments, and I can prove it. There is another special prosecutor working right now. is a guy by the name of Robert Hur. Robert Hur is, I mean, he is a super sharp guy. He's a former prosecutor. He worked on the Mueller investigation. He's currently investigating Joe Biden. You remember they found classified documents in one of Joe Biden's old offices? He called that in. He called that in. He let them know. Robert Hur was appointed. Thanks, Benaloco. I appreciate that. And ain't that a fact? No justice, no peace. Ain't that a fact? The difference between the Biden investigation, in which case we're getting all kinds of insanity and nonsense from the Trump camp regarding the Biden investigations. You have to understand, we do have a special prosecutor. They're not leaking anything. Robert Hur is a super, super sharp guy, but he's not bringing charges because Biden's cooperating, as is Pence, as is the Obamas. Joe Biden let the FBI voluntarily, they didn't have to go get a search warrant. He voluntarily allowed them to search his home. So did Mike Pence. When they searched Mike Pence's home, they found an old classified document, old classified document. It was just a mistake. Another difference being why we're not seeing prosecutions in the Biden or Pence case or the Obama cases, they all retained their security clearances. All of them. They all retained their security clearances. President Trump did not. Which brings us to more of what we are finding in these indictments. You remember Corcoran, his former attorney, has given testimony that when they were moving boxes, Trump motioned to him to move a box into an office and told him to pluck out anything bad. He tried to engage his own attorneys in a cover-up. Deidre, I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you, Paul. Get yourself some Blue Mountain coffee from Jamaica. I love that stuff. I do. I'm telling you, folks, don't buy Kopi Luwak. It's just outrageously expensive and cats poop it out. Don't do that. Get yourself Blue Mountain coffee from Jamaica. It's the best you can get. You can buy it online. Thank you, Deidre. I appreciate it. Thank you, Leah Kelly. I really do appreciate it. Keeps the lights on around here, keeps the subscriptions going, pays for the broadcast. But again, what we're talking about, it's the cover-up, just like in Manhattan. It's the cover-up that's killing Trump. Trump had 3 separate opportunities to return these documents, and he refused. He refused. He even lied. They sent in had Elena Habas send in a certification that, yeah, you got everything. It's insanity. And I tell you, what's even more insane is the stupidest man on the face of the planet right now is Walt Nauta. Walt Nauta has to be the dumbest individual on the face of the planet. He served Trump in the White House. Trump liked the guy, so he elevated him to being the military valet, which put him in the Oval Office. And after Trump was defeated, old Walt Nauta moved to Florida so that he could continue to be Trump's right-hand man. This man has to be brain damaged. You know, he's a former Navy chief. I mean, he has seen what has happened to everyone around Trump. And he lied to the FBI. He lied to the FBI. I appreciate you, Wendy. I really do. for Trump. He lied to the FBI for Trump. And he's going to trial, folks. Instead of just coming clean to the FBI, he is going to trial. Which brings us to what's happening now after the indictments. I mean, the indictments were big splash, but what's happening since is a big deal. First of all, it appeared as though the Trump legal team was going to go for jury nullification. You had Jim Trusty appear on GMA, and all he could do is whataboutism. What about Biden? What about Biden? And made false allegations, lies. You've got Trump talking about documents in Chinatown and yada yada yada, stuff that's complete nonsense. And kudos to George Stephanopoulos for shutting it down. He didn't allow it to fly. And then the next day, Jim Trusty and John Rowley resigned as Trump's attorneys. Apparently, they had enough of the insider baseball is they got tired of arguing with Boris Epshteyn. He's one of Trump's longtime hanger-oners. He just fancies himself a brilliant attorney, but he's never done anything. So now Trump's being represented by Todd Blanche, and Tom Blanche. He's a former partner, not just he's not just an attorney from. He's a former partner. Resigned his partnership at Cadwalader, Wickersham, and Taft. I mean, if you don't know, they're this the rich snobs law firm, Cadwalader, Wickersham, and Taft. But he's also representing Trump in the Alvin Bragg case. If you don't know, he also represented Paul Manafort, which didn't go very well for Paul Manafort, hence Manafort needing a pardon. Here's to the GOP convention ending in Columbus, Georgia. Good riddance to Trump, Lake, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all. Yeah, I tell you, that's been a news gold mine, folks. You had Carrie Lake down there in the convention. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for the support. You had Carrie Lake down there basically threatening law enforcement, saying that there were 71 million Trump voters and they're all members of the NRA. Wink, wink. We got guns. Saying you're going to have to come through us to get Trump. Yeah, well, that's not going to be a problem. That's not going to be a problem. But we did have some news that's got a lot of people quite worried, quite upset. When they filed the indictments down in Miami, Judge Eileen Cannon drew the lucky straw. And if you don't know who Judge Eileen Cannon is, there's been a lot of talk about her. This is Eileen Cannon. There's been a lot of talk of her behavior in the documents case. You remember Trump filed a suit trying to stop the FBI from doing the searches and looking at the documents that they'd seized. Eileen Cannon foolishly ruled on Trump's behalf. They ended up with a special master being appointed, which totally blew up in her face. She had a three judge panel, appeals panel, just wrap her knuckles. Normally judges have a lot of deference when they're overruling another judge. These people, they came out that it was brutal. They just said, look, you have no jurisdiction here. We have no idea what you think you're doing, but you have no jurisdictions to make these rulings. And humiliated Eileen Cannon. And there's a lot of good questions flowing out there. People asking if she's going to recuse herself and what does this mean? Well, I want to kind of allay your fears a little bit, just a little background information on Eileen Cannon. Yeah, she was unqualified for the bench when she was put on. She was born in Cali, Colombia, back in I think it was 2001, I believe it was. Her mom's Cuban, her dad's from Indiana. They moved from Colombia to Miami. Her mother's Cuban. She grew up in the Cuban community in Miami. She passed the Florida bar in 2012. That'll give you some idea. But she's educated. She really is. She got her her bachelor's degree from Duke, and she got her JD from the University of Michigan. Not a bad law school by any means. I mean, she's not Ivy League, but a damn good law school. It is. Thank you, Kitty. I appreciate that. Keep up the good work, saving democracy is. But yeah, Eileen Cannon, her biggest problem is a lack of experience. I don't worry about the fact that she's MAGA. I don't. That doesn't bother me so much. What bothers me is she considers herself to be a rebel. She likes to oppose the government, which is really weird because she actually served as a prosecutor. I mean, she's not a complete idiot. She really isn't. But this arraignment's actually not going to be handled by her while she was assigned the case. The magistrate judge that will be on duty, which, just because a judge is assigned to the case doesn't mean that it's going to be their turn to handle arraignments. The arraignment's going to be handled by Judge Reinhardt. And you may remember him. He's the guy that the right wingers, I'm not even going to put it up, put a bunch of fake ass memes up about him flying on a jet and holding bourbon in his hands and stuff like you remember that. But he's going to handle the arraignment. But as far as Eileen Cannon handling the case and her recusing herself, I don't think she is. I don't think she is. She took a pretty hard rap on the knuckles in this first go round, and she's been humiliated. She's going to want to redeem herself. She's going to want to redeem herself. She is. And she's got a bit of an attitude. She does. She's known for overturning plea deals if she doesn't agree with them. She's just, like I said, considers herself to be a rebel. And I don't think she's smart enough to realize that she doesn't have the experience. She just doesn't have the experience to run a case like this. I mean, this case has to be letter perfect. This is going to be one of the most watched cases in the world. In the entire world, people are going to be watching the news from this case. And I think that's like a bug light for her, just an attractant that's going to keep her from recusing herself. I also think it means it's going to be a slow case because she's going to have to think about everything. She's going to have to call folks and get their opinion. She's not going to be able to rule judiciously. She isn't. But as far as inappropriate behavior concerns, Jack Smith is not going to play. He's just not going to play. This is a straightforward, easy to understand case. There's really not going to be a lot of room for radical rulings. People are afraid. People are afraid that she's going to throw evidence out. I don't see that happening, folks. I really don't see that happening. She doesn't want to go down in history as that person. She just doesn't. She's got a lifetime gig on this bench. And while I think, yeah, she considers herself to be a rebel. She likes to say she likes to think outside the box. That's her words. I don't think she wants to be humiliated, folks. I really don't. I really don't. So don't fear Eileen Cannon. Don't worry about that to begin with. You know, there's a slim chance that she may step down, and there's a lot of folks saying that she'll be removed. Let me see. There you go. John, I really appreciate this. I'm not giving you any crap or anything like that. This is a good comment. I understand. There is virtually no way to remove her from this case unless she does it voluntarily. That's a misunderstanding that a lot of people are having. The 11th Circuit can't just willy-nilly say, "Hey, you don't get to be on this case." They can put a ton of pressure on her, a lot of behind the scenes arm twisting. They can to get her to recuse herself. And I guarantee you they're going to, because she's not qualified to hear this case. This is one of the most important cases our country has ever seen. This is the prosecution of a former president. But again, if she does not choose to recuse, they can't force her. They can't. This is her baby now. You know, I get this comment. I do. I do. I really do get this comment because she really made some boneheaded rulings, some very dumb rulings in the documents case. You know, Greg's here says, I don't think she's civilized enough to care about being embarrassed. She would love to give her side a victory and own the libs. That, I understand that sentiment, but realistically, no, no, I don't agree with you. I don't. She made the rulings she did because she was stupid enough to believe she had the ability to do it. She did not make the rulings she did in the documents case when Trump filed suit. You remember Trump filed suit to try to get the FBI to stop looking at his documents. She did not make those rulings thinking they were going to be overturned because it would have just been a waste of time. It would have just been a waste of time. She actually believed she had the authority to make those rulings. So I don't actually believe that in this case, which is going to be the brightest of light shine on her, if she does decide to subject herself to this, I don't think she's going to be making rulings that she knows will be overturned. I mean, her rulings can be appealed and they will be overturned. It's not like she has carte blanche here. She does have the 11th Circuit looking over her shoulder during this entire trial. I just don't think that she's smart enough to realize, again, that she's unqualified to preside over this case. I think she's arrogant and way overconfident in her own abilities. But no, I don't think she's going to make idiotic rulings on purpose. She's had her embarrassment. She's had her moment in the spotlight that and if she does stay on this case, she will want to redeem herself. I guarantee you. This is a lifetime gig. This is a lifetime gig, folks. You have to remember she's going to have to live with this for the rest of her life unless she does something to be impeached over. And again, this would not be the case she would do it on because she knows this everybody's all eyes are on her. Flint, I really appreciate this, bud. I really do. 5 pounds, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That's more than $5, folks. That's uh, uh, I cannot tell you how grateful I am for the support. I mean, I don't mean to sound like everybody hates the fundraising stuff. I hate fundraising week on NPR. Everybody hates to talk about money. I do too. But I am grateful because you guys don't understand. When I decided to do this, I came out of retirement to do this, and me and Mrs. Texas Paul had an agreement. This has got to pay for itself, or I can't do it. And so far, you folks have done an amazing job of keeping the lights on. I really appreciate you. Joan, the Lord didn't bring us this far to give up now. Be not afraid. That's exactly my message. I tell you what, that is perfect, Joan. That's why I love you folks. That's why I love you folks. Y'all just hit it right on the head every damn time. That is my message to you. Don't be worried about it, this whole nonsense with Eileen Cannon. Worry more about what's going on in the public. Let me show you where Trump is going. Thank you, Linda. I really appreciate that. Think the case is strong enough to win her in her court. I do. I absolutely. This is a simple case. This is a very, very simple case. And they have things like this. Now, Donald Trump is coming out and trying to win this. His attorneys were trying that whole jury nullification thing with, oh, look at the Bidens, and this isn't really happening. Take a look at this picture. This is one of the things that Donald Trump is saying. Well, he didn't do this. The FBI did this when they were searching my residence. The FBI did this, and I want you to pay attention. Down here, you'll see pictures spilled out of this box. There's newspaper spilled out of this box, and then there's a document there with a redaction on it. You see that black line on that document? That's a classified document, folks. And Trump's trying to say, well, the FBI did this. Well, the problem is, this isn't an FBI picture. This is from Walt Nauta. That's part of what they seized from Walt Nauta's phone. That's him in a text conversation where he's explaining that these documents it's getting to be a mess with these documents. What do you want me to do with them? He keeps, yes, right. Exactly. I appreciate this comment. Keep lying, Trump. It's your legacy. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is his legacy. But more so, it's his nail in the coffin. Because when it comes to sentencing, they will bring this up. They will remind Eileen Cannon, if she's the judge, when it's time for sentencing, that he lied about everything, that we didn't have to do any of this, that if he had just cooperated, but no, he said, no, I declassified everything with my mind. Then he said, these are mine. I own them. Then he said, just one iteration after another. Then when caught, the evidence is laying there literally on the floor, and he's lying and claiming it's the government and the FBI when it's his own damn valet that took the picture. And that's what we're seeing, folks, is just this radical attempt at jury nullification. If you don't know what jury nullification is, that's when a jury looks at a case and says, yeah, you proved your case, but I'm not going to convict this person anyways. It happens in retaliation cases over sexual assault, things like that. They will prove that somebody, a sexual assault victim, murdered or assaulted the person that attacked them. They'll prove that case, but the jury will not convict. They'll say, no, we're not going to convict this person. That's jury nullification. That's what they're going for here. Is they're trying to poison the well of jurors to get them to believe that the government is acting against them. Victor, thank you for the support again, man. I do. Here's a thought. What if spies broke in and took a photo of the classified documents, and that's the way Walt Nauta took pictures of the mess they had made? That crossed my mind, Victor. That really did, because they actually did catch a Chinese spy at Mar-a-Lago. They did. They caught a Chinese spy at Mar-a-Lago. And these documents were in bathrooms. They were in hallways. They were up on a stage in a ballroom. You've all seen the pictures. I don't have to pull them all up. But yeah, they actually did catch a Chinese spy infiltrating Mar-a-Lago. And these documents are just laying around. All you had to do was sift through the boxes. No, thank you, Melissa. I do appreciate you. So, folks, just to reiterate, Trump is screwed. He is nailed to the wall. He is just nailed to the wall. He is. There's no way around this. There's no way to fight this case. The case in Manhattan, they had a lot of people say, oh, well, this is tenuous. It's not tenuous. It's really not. All the payments are on record. All they have to do is show the jury the payments. We know what they're for. Here's what they were for. This is why this person got paid. It's not a hard case. These financial crimes case are a breeze. This documents case sells itself because they will show the communications from the archives begging for their information back. They will show where Trump was stripped of his clearance when he left office because he was a danger to our country. They will show where he was briefed that he was stripped of his clearance, that he knew that he did not have the clearance. Then they'll show the communications that I read just a couple of them to you, where he told people, oh, I'm not supposed to show you this. This is not a hard case to prosecute. He's going to lose, even with Eileen Cannon as his judge. And two, don't fear Eileen Cannon. One, I don't think she's going to be an idiot in this case. I don't. I just maybe call me a foolish optimist, but I think she was embarrassed enough the first time around that she'll take one of two options. She'll either recuse herself, which I don't think is the option she's going to take because, like I said, this is a massive amount of attention for her, or she will try the case. She will preside over the case, and she'll do everything she can not to humiliate herself again. But if she does, let's say worst case scenario, she comes out of the box and she is, she's just a total Trump sycophant. She has the 11th Circuit sitting over her shoulder. And if she does things like that, then yes, she can be removed. They will overrule her rulings on appeal. And they don't have to wait until the case is over to appeal these rulings. At worst case, she can slow the case down. Benaloka, you folks know I love Benaloka. She is one crazy hippie chicken. She would do it, man. She would. Why aren't we outside Mar-a-Lardo protesting around the clock? She would be there. I will tell you, I have encouraged all of you folks. I encourage all of you. Don't show up at the courthouse. Don't go protest at Mar-a-Lago. Allow the idiots to be idiots. Make it like January 6th all over again. I appreciate you, Louise. I really do. Love from Northern Ireland. Yeah, I'm half Irish, by the way. I know you folks that actually live there kind of snicker when we say stuff like that. But yeah, my mother was 100% Irish. I have more Irish in me than anything else. I'm coming to visit, by the way. Mrs. Texas Paul has assured me that one of our next trips will definitely be a trip to the old country. Alan, I really appreciate you, man. I really do. $50 is a lot of money, brother. I really appreciate it. But as I was saying, don't fear Eileen Cannon. Just don't. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Anything can be overturned on appeal. If she humiliates herself, then she can be removed. This is not a big deal. But as it stands now, no, unless she chooses to give it up, that's it. Well, folks, it's just flown by. It's just flown by. So let's move to the roundtable portion of our conversation, and throw them out at me. Throw your questions out at me. There have been a lot of great comments put out there. Becky, I appreciate the support. Thank you, Texas Paul, for all you do. No, thank you. Thank you. I actually love doing this, and I appreciate you folks keeping the lights on while we do it. Texas Paul, 2 stolen dogs had Sharpie markings. Yeah, we're gonna find out more and more that this is much worse than what we think it is. You know, other than I mean, think of the people he's been showing this stuff to, and everybody has a suspicion that he's turned this over to our enemies. Blue peony. Trump put us in depth, and I blame him for the war in Ukraine. I believe you mean in debt. I believe, and I agree with you. And I blame him for the war in Ukraine. This war is costing us billions, and it's Trump's fault. Great comment. Great comment, Blue Peony. Great comment. Because yeah, he did put us in debt. He was responsible. His administration alone was responsible for a quarter of our national debt from the point of our country's inception to today. Our entire history, Trump racked up a quarter of our national debt. And yes, he is responsible for the war in Ukraine. You know, they invaded back when Obama was president. They invaded the Crimea. Obama put sanctions on them. We opposed them. Trump came into office. He worked to loosen the sanctions. He emboldened Russia. Putin knew that he owned Trump. And that's what emboldened Putin to think that he could actually invade all of Ukraine and just take it. And nobody would do anything. God bless the Ukrainians for standing up. I mean, they are fighting and dying and winning. And keep tuned, folks. The Ukrainians' offensive has just started in earnest. They're already making massive inroads on land that it took the Russians months to win. They've taken back in hours. So watch this space, folks. And when you hear Republicans talk about how much we've spent, just a reminder, they're tallying up equipment costs, that's not all going in cash. There is some cash going over to help keep the Ukrainian economy afloat. But the vast majority of what's being sent over there, the totals are in equipment. And when they do the math on that, they add up how much we paid for it. Well, we're not sending new Abrams tanks over there. We're not. We're sending refurbished tanks over there. It's yeah, we may have paid a couple $100 million for each one of those, but that's not what they're worth on the market today if we were selling. And by the way, our Abrams are still in Germany. They haven't hit Ukraine yet. They're still training on them because it's a totally different beast than the Leopard tanks that are on the ground. And with inferior European equipment, the Ukrainians are whipping Russia's butt right now in this offensive. Imagine what's going to happen when the F-16s are there and they can assert air superiority. Imagine what's going to happen when they do have the Abrams tanks, which are much faster, much more maneuverable than the Leopards are. They're going to have tungsten armor. They're not going to have the depleted uranium armor that we put on them, but tungsten armor is just as good. I mean, they're really Ukraine's going to win this and win this handily. The question is, and I pose this to you, if they even should, but do you think Ukraine is going to stop at the Russian border? Or do you think they'll take back, as the Russians claim to have done, historical land? And should Russia be punished that way? Setchi, I appreciate that, man. I really do. That's a big chunk of change for somebody to send, and I do appreciate it. There's a few trolls in here. Yeah, I see them, but I don't really care. And don't let them bother you, Teresa. Don't let them bother you. They're a useless waste of time. I just let them boost my numbers. They work for me now. Me too, Deidre. Me too. My mother went. I'm gonna go. We're definitely gonna go. I want to drink a Guinness in Ireland. Belarisha, you're 100% here. This is what I'm telling everybody. Leave this fight between the maggots and the cops. Don't go out there. I believe in your right to protest, and I understand, and I would never knock you for protesting, but man, right now, the way things are going, leave it be. Let them screw themselves. Don't be a part of it. Just flipping through some comments. Forgive the pregnant pause here. James, I appreciate the support. I do. Trump is the epitome of ignorance and arrogance at the same time. You said that again. I mean, you said a mouthful there, my friend. That is absolutely true. Trump managed to lose money with a casino. How do you lose money with a casino? I mean, it's like printing money. All of that. By the way, if you don't know, everything in a casino is stacked in the house's favor. I don't care what your game is. I don't care if it's cards. I don't care if it's the slot machines. I don't care if it's craps. It's all mathematically in the house's favor. What you're betting on is that you're going to be the one that bucks the odds, which is great. It's fun. Enjoy, have fun. I'm not telling you not to gamble. I am telling you though that if you are running a casino, you're going to make money. There's just no way to not make money. How did he bankrupt a casino? Top two candidates will be indicted on the Republicans. I believe she's talking about what's going on down here in Texas in Bexar County. If you're not aware, the sheriff here at Bexar County took a look at what DeSantis pulled by sending migrants to Martha's Vineyard, and the whole procedure and how that happened. And it was human trafficking, folks. It was kidnapping. And the sheriff down here in Bexar County, which is around San Antonio, has recommended charges and sent that recommendation to the DA. So yeah, DeSantis may be facing charges on human trafficking here quite soon. And a great comment. It is so scary to think what all and whom he showed those documents to. I would bet my life if somebody said your life versus a dollar, did Trump show these documents to the Saudis? I would bet my life. That would be an easy dollar as far as I'm concerned. And Ross, no pardon, suspend post presidential benefits. Yeah, I do believe he should lose his benefits if he's convicted, but I don't know that there's a mechanism to do that. And as far as no pardon is concerned, I don't see Joe Biden pardoning Donald Trump at all. We've got the case in Georgia coming up. Everybody's concerned what Governor Kemp's going to do down in Georgia. Georgia's like Texas. The governor can't just willy-nilly pardon somebody. Greg Abbott wanted to pardon that murderer, and it doesn't work that way. There's a board that reviews them the same way in Georgia. Kemp can't just pardon Trump if he wants to. Yeah, but this is where if he could solve Ukraine in a day, then he's a mass murderer for not saying how. Actually, Flint, we know how. We know how he would do that. He would betray Ukraine and help the Russians. He would. That's what he would do, is he would withdraw all support immediately and force the Ukrainians to capitulate to Russia. But it would take more than a day to do that. Even he's just a liar and a loudmouth. Remember that when you're voting, it's the lives of Ukrainians that are on that ballot also. Great question, Brian. I really appreciate this. Fantastic question. Will Jack Smith indict congressman for January 6th? Yes. Yes, he will. People are wondering, when are we going to see indictments off that? That's going to follow the Fannie Willis case down in Georgia. So you don't want those cases going on at the same time. And Jack Smith still has some investigating to do. Uh, when Jack Smith was hired, he was hired to investigate the January 6th insurrection. That's still ongoing, but he's not ready to indict. Fannie Willis is, and if you remember, that's about the fake elector scheme. She's enjoined DC and I believe Arizona, and they are working together over these fake slates of electors. And those that didn't cooperate, she's going to prosecute those fake electors. She is. And she's going to prosecute Trump and probably Lindsey Graham on top of that. But you don't want another case, because the fake slates of electors will be part of Jack Smith's case. You don't want two trials running at the same time, because then there's political maneuvering that can be done. There are mistakes that can be made in one prosecution or the other. So what Jack Smith will do is he will wait till Fannie Willis is done with her case, and you will see indictments on January 6th next year. Probably this time next year, close to summer. Teresa, another great comment. Don't worry about Tuesday. Don't worry about it. As long as everybody stays home and let these idiots, because you remember I posted a few things on my Twitter account that you know Trump was telling his people to show up at the courthouse. Well, he's reversed his position. 100% reversed his position. You had Clay Higgins that made a bunch of comments about getting ready for a civil war and whatnot. He's reversed his position and come out and made tweets that are just the opposite. Oh, be peaceful. We believe in the Constitution. Donald Trump will take care of himself. And then Donald Trump has turned around and put another one of his idiotic posts out on True Social. This is actually one of the only smart one. I take it back. One of the only smart ones he's ever put out. He has told his people to not show up at the Miami courthouse. And what's hilarious is on the right wing is they're remembering that there are cameras and people go to prison for doing stuff like that. So it's all over the right wing where they're telling their people to not show up. I actually think Tuesday is going to be pretty calm. We've got a few minutes left. Let's find another good comment. That's right. You folks' comments have been amazing. I really appreciate it. No, Nicole Marie, I appreciate the super comment. We need to be explicit in our messaging. Any Republican who defends Trump is telling our military here and abroad, veterans, that they do not care about their service, safety, and our national security. That is true. And I'm going to say something. You know, I'm ride or die Democrat. I am ride or die Democrat. I am. But we are really, as a party, bad at the political knife fighting. There's a guy by the name of Rick Wilson. Follow him on Twitter. He's a reformed Republican. He is a guy that used to piss in our mess kit all the time. He is really good at this political stuff. He really is on pushing people's buttons. He's excellent at it, and he will he just like your comment there. The messaging should be X, Y, and Z. Rick constantly does that. What I recommend to you folks is pick up the phone. It only takes a minute to call your representatives and tell them, and then they will do it. Because if you're not talking to them, they're guessing at what you want to hear. And they're going to be jaded by what they want to hear, which is getting back to business as usual. You need to let these people know, no, we're not done with this fight yet. We are not done with this fight yet. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Robert Reynolds, was Trump thinking of putting Kid Rock in the Pentagon? We showed him on North Korea. No, he was just braggadocio is all that was. That's all that was. Dragon Reapers, I appreciate this. I really do appreciate the support. No question. My half Irish husband and I are huge fans of yours and want you to know how much we appreciate all. I appreciate you folks. I really do. Mark, I appreciate the support, man. I really do. Let's see if we can come up with another good comment. Yes, Lisa, I 100%. Stay away. Stay away. Let them fight with the cops. Let them do it on camera. Let them get prosecuted. And a comment from a Mrs. Texas Paul. Please smash the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. Yes, please do. It helps put this on an algorithm. And I'm going to ask for one more favor. When we're done here on this live, go back to YouTube, take a peek at the video. There's a share button under there. Makes it really easy to share. You just have to click on the share button and then send it to your Twitter account. Let people see this. Let's get our audience size up so that more people understand what's going on. We can dig a little bit deeper on these things. We can get into the political aspects of it. That will help us out a ton. Cheryl Clark, the Ukraine war will end this month. No, no, no. I love that sentiment. I am behind you and wanting that. I do, but no, it's going to be this winter before it's over. It will. The fact that the oligarchs haven't turned on Putin it just bodes very poorly um, for the future of this war, and that they're doing things to scare people within Russia. You know, the press in Russia is wholly controlled by Putin, and for them to be coming out and criticizing how the war is going and expressing fears of Russia being invaded, that wasn't an accident. That was Putin manipulating his own people because he has other military assets around the country. And if you're not familiar with Russia, folks, just think about the most paranoid crackhead you know, and then double it. That's what your average Russian is when it comes to being invaded. They really believe an invasion can come at any time from any direction. And in part, they're not necessarily wrong because the old Soviets, they abused the shit out of other countries and other ethnicities. They really did. You know, look what they were facing down in Chechnya for the longest time. They have this real fear that they're going to be invaded from other areas. So they won't allow Putin to move assets, other military assets. They just won't. They want to be safe. They want those assets that they've got in the far eastern end of Russia, the far eastern end of Siberia, in case we invade. There's the Sea of Japan. They've got forces down there because they're afraid Japan is going to invade them. They've got forces down in the south in Kazakhstan and whatnot. Putin is scaring the shit out of his own people so he can draw off those forces and still maintain his support. That's what that is all about, folks. This isn't Putin is not throwing in the towel. He is not. Ukraine will definitely smoke the Russians. They will on the battlefield. They will. But it's going to take time. All right, let's get one more really good comment out. I really appreciate for that comment. I really do. All right, this is a good one. Brendan Lewis, what's going to happen in Houston with votes? We are going to watch Houston like a hawk. We are. That's what's going to happen. We are going to have to flood Houston with get out the vote efforts. And then we are going to have to sue like crazy if they attempt to throw out votes. For folks that don't know, they passed a law here in Texas that unseats the folks that normally run the elections in Houston's the election supervisor, and makes it the direct purview of the highly partisan Abbott controlled Secretary of State. They're going to run the elections, which means, yes, there's going to be lines. There's going to be problems. They're going to make problems under the guise of stopping problems, which there were no problems to really stop. They're going to create problems down in Houston. So we are going to have to double down, triple down our efforts. Fortunately, October in Texas is usually not that hot. Just be prepared. We're going to have to prepare our people. I talk to people in Houston over and over again about be prepared to stand in lines, get your documentation in place well ahead of the election. And we're going to slug it out. That's what we're going to do. That's what we always do. I don't think they're going to what they're trying to do again is scary, and it's more to discourage people from voting than it does have actual effect, because we will sue the living crap out of them if they do anything hinky. We just will. Well, folks, it's 11:15. We've gone over 15 minutes, but I don't care. I just love spending time with you folks. I appreciate the support. I really appreciate the support. Thank you. It keeps the subscriptions paid for. Uh, I I am a political commentator. I am not a journalist. I do like to 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 research things so that I know what I'm talking about, get you background information. But that information comes from journalists. I get that information from both following journalists on Twitter, subscriptions, talking to folks personally, and your support helps that happen. It really does help that happen. It means that I've got good information. When I tell you, thanks for keeping the lights on, that's what I'm talking about. Thanks for keeping the information coming in. I appreciate you very, very much. And as always, it's been wonderful to see you folks again today. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Old Texas Paul out.